Fan, two bombshells are shaking up the Yankees. On one side, a team legend defending a young talent who has been facing heavy criticism. And on the other, one of our biggest stars returned to the field, but clearly not at 100%. These stories are heating up and could change the course of the season. So go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell because today we're breaking it all down. No filler, the way Yankees fans deserve. News 1. Fan, this one's gonna hit you. CC Sabathia, one of the most respected names in New York Yankees history, decided to speak out and came to the defense of Anthony Volpe. That's right. While much of the fan base hasn't held back on criticizing the young shortstop, Sabathia was direct. People need to relax. And look, when a guy who's been a champion, who knows New York like few others, says something like that, it's impossible not to stop and think. Let's start with the numbers, because they tell part of the story. Volpe is only 24 years old, still at the start of his career, but he leads the American League in errors with 18 this season. That weighs heavy, especially when you wear the most scrutinized uniform in baseball. To make things worse, his bat isn't helping much either. His batting average sits at just .207 in 140 games. For many fans, that's not enough to be the Yankees' everyday shortstop. And the reaction is still playing at a high level. Anyone watching knows Volpe has been booed multiple times, even when he was just trying to do the basics. Strikeout? Boos. Defensive error? Boos. Even when he made good plays, it felt like the crowd wasn't ready to cheer. It's as if the expectations placed on him had turned into a burden. After all, the shadow of Derek Jeter still looms over Yankee Stadium, and any kid stepping into that position will automatically be compared. And let's be honest, that's unfair. That's where CC Sabathia stepped in. In an interview with the New York Post, he said it plainly. It's hard to develop young talent here. Every year, it's about winning a championship. There's no time for natural growth. He went further, reminding everyone that baseball is a tough game, maybe the toughest of all, and expecting perfection from such a young player, especially in New York, is practically impossible. And what makes it even harder? The fact that Volpe doesn't have a moment to breathe. Any slip becomes a headline. Any bad stat becomes fuel for criticism. And here's the analysis. Sabathia is absolutely right. New York is the worst place possible for a young player to make mistakes. The market is massive. The media is relentless. And the fans are passionate but impatient. Many players only settle in after a few seasons of ups and downs. The problem is, with the Yankees, there's no such thing as learning time. Either you deliver now, or the pressure swallows you. The team could have taken a different route. A trade, a temporary demotion to ease the pressure, maybe even giving him minutes in another role. But no, they chose to keep Volpe as the everyday starter. That choice is a vote of confidence, but also a brutal test of the kid's resilience. And believe it or not, despite the mistakes, some still see a silver lining. Volpe is still under pre-arbitration contract, meaning he's a cost-effective player for the team, and he won't be a free agent until 2029. In other words, there's time for him to figure out. But the question is, will that time exist in New York? Will the fans' patience last that long? Meanwhile, the team as a whole is starting to bounce back. After weeks of inconsistency, the Yankees are showing signs of life. The big win over Houston brought confidence, and the series against Toronto, which is still ongoing, shows New York only 3 games back in the division. That's encouraging, especially since they've also pulled ahead in the wild card. Right now, they hold a 1.5 game lead over Boston and 5 games over Seattle. In other words, the Yankees are not done. On the contrary, they could finish strong if they keep up this pace. And here's the irony. While the team is starting to click, the criticism of Volpe is getting even louder. It's as if part of the fan base is always looking for a scapegoat. But Sabathia made it clear. If New York doesn't learn to give young players room to grow, they'll never be able to develop stars at home. And that's a heavy thought, because let's not forget how many talents came through here and ended up shining with other teams. Could Volpe face the same fate? Now I'll throw it to you. Did the Yankees make the right call keeping Volpe as the everyday shortstop all season long, even with all the mistakes? Or would it have been better to ease the pressure and let him develop elsewhere? I want to see your take in the comments, because this debate even divides the fan base itself. At the end of the day, CC Sabathia's message was clear. Baseball is tough. Nobody becomes Derek Jeter overnight. And if fans don't have patience, they might end up burning out of talent before he ever matures. But the real question remains, does patience exist in New York? That answer only time and the fans will tell. News 2. Fan, it's impossible to watch this series against the Toronto Blue Jays without noticing one thing. Aaron Judge is back in the outfield, but he's not ready to be there. The Yankees legend, the face of the franchise, is clearly not at 100%, and that is starting to cost the team. Right at the start of the decisive game of the series, in the second inning, it became evident. Judge had the chance to throw to home plate, but chose a slow, cautious toss to Anthony Volpe instead. The throw was clocked at just 70.6 miles per hour, 113.5 kilometers per hour. For a player of Judge's caliber, that's low. And it didn't stop there. Later in the same inning, instead of attempting to get a runner out at home, he threw to Jazz Chisholm at second base. Result? An easy run for Toronto. The detail is that this throw was also weak, only 68.9 miles per hour, 111 kilometers per hour. The numbers were shared by Max Goodman from NJ.com, and they confirmed what everyone had suspected. Judge is avoiding putting strain on his arm. Since late July, he has been dealing with an elbow injury, and even though his batting numbers remain impressive, he's hitting .322 over the last 7 games alone. In the outfield, the story is completely different. And that wasn't all. In the first game of the series, a miscommunication between Judge and Jazz Chisholm, despite still playing a high level, a run. They talked it over afterward, but the caution remained obvious. Judge even explained his perspective in an interview, saying that his priority was to throw quickly and let someone else complete the play. But the truth is the ball didn't have the same strength, and that is directly affecting the defense. The comparison became even more striking because, in the next game, Cody Bellinger did the exact opposite. A perfect, fast, and precise throw that tagged out Bo Bichette at home plate. A high-level defensive play that highlighted just how stark the difference in intensity between Judge and other players can be at this moment. The big question is, why is Judge being put in this position? The official answer comes from manager Aaron Boone, who seems determined to support his captain. He said the team is working on creative cutoffs, positioning adjustments, trying to mask Judge's physical limitations in the outfield. But let's be honest, no matter how much Boone tries to soften it, it's clear Judge is not in ideal condition to play defense right now. And here's the analysis. Is the risk worth it? Judge is one of the best hitters in the league, maybe the most clutch player in all of baseball when healthy. But exposing him in the outfield, knowing he can't make strong throws, could compromise both the defense and his long-term health. The Yankees are fighting near the top of the standings. Every win counts. Every detail matters. And these details, like Judge's slow throws, could be the difference between winning or losing a critical series like this one against Toronto. Fans, of course, are divided. On one side, there's the pride of seeing Judge on the field, leading the team. On the other, the frustration of realizing he isn't fully healthy and that this choice may be costing unnecessary runs. Boone says it's all part of an adaptation plan. But the truth is the contrast between the Judge everyone knows and this cautious Judge is glaring. Now I want to hear from you. Are the Yankees making a mistake keeping Judge in the outfield under these conditions? Or is it better to have him there, even limited, than to give up his defensive presence? Would you risk his health to keep him in this role? Or would you put him back as designated hitter until he's 100%? Comment below, because this is a debate that will divide a lot of people. In the end, it's clear. Judge is still the same monster at the plate. But the defense shows the captain isn't ready for the outfield. And if the Yankees want to compete for a title, maybe it's time for Boone and the team to face reality. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and stay tuned because the season is heating up and we'll keep bringing you all the news, analysis, and opinions in the right measure.